Time, as we understand it, is not chaos. It only appears scattered to the eyes that do not see beyond the moment. The hands of the clock do not swing freely without purpose, nor do the seasons change merely by chance. There is a rhythm, a deeper current. Beneath the ticking seconds and passing days lies a pattern only those tuned in can begin to hear. It's like music playing faintly behind a closed door. Most people rush past it, but a few, those who pause, can catch the melody, feel the pulse and realize this was never accidental. The calendar isn't just boxes and numbers. It's a language, sacred, whispered, written in a dialect most have forgotten, but the soul still recognizes. You can feel it when the wind shifts, when the sunlight looks a little different on your skin, when a date starts glowing with quiet intensity. There are moments we call coincidence, but they are appointments, set long before we were even born. Alignments between the heavens and our breath. Chosen times, anointed windows, divine appointments disguised as ordinary days. People often ask, when will it happen? When will things change? Why not now? As if answers are found in anxiety, as if the soil could be forced to bear fruit before its time. But timing isn't up for negotiation. Timing is sacred. Everything has a gestation. Just like a seed knows how long to sleep in the dark before breaking open, purpose also knows when it must rise. God doesn't rush masterpieces. He orchestrates moments with the patience of eternity. The end of July is not a random dot on a timeline. It was selected, not out of convenience, but from clarity. There is something about that window of time that holds a specific frequency, a signal, a shift. Maybe you don't see it yet. Maybe nothing in your life looks like it's moving, but stillness isn't the same as stagnation. Stillness is preparation. Stillness is the final inhale before the arrow is released. And when that arrow flies, it won't miss, because it's been guided. Some things don't move when you want them to, because they're not meant to move at your pace. You may feel ready, but God doesn't just consider your readiness. He considers everyone involved, every layer, every consequence. It's not just about your desire, it's about alignment. The right time requires more than your will. It requires the environment, the people, the energies, even the resistance to be in their exact places. That's what makes the opening so powerful when it comes. Everything clicks. The door that wouldn't budge suddenly swings wide. That's not magic. That's design. When you're walking with faith, impatience becomes one of your biggest tests. It whispers doubts when nothing is happening. It pushes you to rush ahead, to kick open doors that are still being built. But don't. You can't microwave destiny. What's meant for you has a lock only time can open. The calendar might look blank, but behind the scenes, the machinery of the unseen is in motion. Wheels are turning. People you haven't even met yet are being positioned. Conversations are being set. Ideas are being born in rooms you haven't entered yet. And all of it is orbiting one moment, the one God already circled. Late July. And if you're still wondering why that date matters, maybe it's not about knowing the reason. Maybe it's about trusting the whisper. God doesn't always explain. He speaks once and watches who listens. Some people need proof, but the ones who move mountains need only the word. If he said wait, then wait. Not out of fear, not out of laziness, but because waiting is also obedience, and obedience is also power. There's strength in the pause, because while you wait, you're being strengthened. Every day that feels like nothing is preparing you for the day that feels like everything. Your vision is sharpening. Your spirit is toughening. Your heart is softening in the right places. You're learning to hear the quiet, to trust what's invisible. That's growth. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. And when the date arrives, you'll recognize it not because it's wrapped in fireworks, but because you'll feel the internal yes, like something ancient in you finally clicking into place. Don't mistake silence for absence. Don't confuse quiet for neglect. God's most powerful moves often begin in whispers. He doesn't need spectacle to make things holy. He needs surrender. He needs your belief when nothing around you looks different. That's where the real work begins. Not when you celebrate, but when you trust before there's anything to celebrate. So when you look at your calendar and see those last days of July, see more than a date. See a promise. Not because everything will be perfect, but because something necessary will shift. Maybe it will be in you, maybe in the world around you. Maybe the door you've been knocking on will finally open. Or maybe, just maybe, you'll realize you never needed the door at all, because He was building you a whole new path. And remember, He doesn't operate on your timeline because your timeline is based on what you think you know. But He sees beyond your vision. He sees what could break you, what could delay you, what could steal your peace. And so He waits, not to punish, but to protect. He waits until the road is safe, the foundation is firm, and you've grown into the kind of person who can carry what you've been asking for without dropping it. The calendar is a compass when God is writing the map. It points to something even when you don't yet understand where it's leading. You don't have to. That's the beauty of faith. You walk before you see the path. You move before you see the miracle. You wait before you see the why. Because you trust the who. So when He said the end of July, He wasn't teasing. He wasn't playing games with your heart. He was giving you a marker, a signpost to carry you through the uncertainty, a north star for your hope. So hold to it. Don't rush it. Let July end how it's meant to. Let it unfold like a story that's been waiting to be told. Your only job is to stay open, stay ready, stay steady. The stars don't argue with the night sky. They shine when it's their time. Just the same, your moment is coming. Already appointed, already prepared, already spoken. Let everyone else panic, chase, stress, and force. You rest. You trust. You walk with the quiet confidence of someone who knows the calendar isn't random, it's prophetic. Because when God says, wait for the end of July, it's not a suggestion, it's a guarantee. Storms always get the most attention. The loudest events tend to draw the eyes and pull focus. Thunder cracks and people flinch. Wind howls and windows rattle. Rain pours and the world rushes for shelter. But in all that chaos, something deeper is happening. Something quieter, more deliberate, and infinitely more meaningful. Because not everything that moves you is meant to be seen. Not everything that shapes the world comes in daylight. Some of the most divine work is done in silence. It's a strange thing, isn't it? How humans often associate movement with noise. If something isn't loud, it isn't powerful. If it isn't announced, it must not be important. But God has never been one for spectacle, not really. He may shake the earth when He wants to make a point, sure, but more often than not, His greatest miracles begin in stillness, in the shadows, in the hush just before dawn. We forget that silence has a voice, a language all its own. It's the language of trust, the space between the promise and its fulfillment, that sacred in between where nothing looks like it's changing and yet everything is. It's the womb before birth, the seed before sprout, the night before light. And it's in that space where most people grow restless, that God does his finest work. He is not rushed, he is not worried, he is not reacting to the storm, he's already accounted for it. Before the first drop of rain, he already wrote the ending. That's why the silence is wise. It knows what's coming. People panic when they hear thunder because it feels like something's going wrong. But thunder doesn't mean destruction. It means pressure is shifting. Something is releasing. It's necessary, it's loud, yes, but sometimes the loudest moments are simply the prelude to clarity. You don't need to fear the noise. Let it come. Let the wind tear through whatever isn't rooted. Let the rain wash off whatever isn't meant to stick. The storm is never in control. It's part of the plan. But if you listen closely during a storm, really listen, you'll hear something else. Not with your ears, but with your spirit. You'll hear a silence underneath it. Not absence, but presence. Not vacancy, but focus. That's where he is. Not in the whirlwind, but in the center. In the calm inside the chaos. Always moving, always watching, always preparing. And that movement? That's what you don't see. Because he moves in shadows. Not to hide from you, but to protect what he's building in you. There are parts of the process that can't be exposed too soon. They need darkness to form. Like a photograph in a dark room, like bones forming in a womb, like roots pushing through the dirt. Too much light too early ruins the work. So God shields it, not because he's withholding, but because he's growing. Shielding is protection. Hidden is not forgotten. It's just sacred. If you're in a season where it feels like nothing is happening, maybe that's because the most important thing is happening beneath the surface. Out of sight, out of your control, and exactly where it needs to be. Trust doesn't mean understanding. Trust means surrendering your need to see it, to believe it. It means walking through the shadow and knowing who's ahead of you. It means holding your peace even when the wind screams otherwise. You see, he moves differently. You expect flashes, he works with footsteps. You expect a trumpet, he whispers in the dark. You expect a crowd, he prefers solitude. That's how he's always moved, in shadows before the sunrise. Think of how many mornings begin long before anyone is awake. How the sky begins to change while the world still sleeps. How light stretches itself across the edge of the earth, silently, no noise, no announcement, just presence, just shift. That's how he moves. The sunrise isn't sudden, it's gradual. It starts in darkness, slow and steady, until the world turns gold. That's how breakthroughs come. Not always like fireworks, but like morning, creeping over a quiet field. And if you're too busy chasing explosions, you'll miss the miracle right in front of you. The question isn't whether he's moving, it's whether you're still enough to perceive it. You have to learn to honor the silence, to stop wrestling with it, to stop fearing it. Because silence is not punishment, it's preparation. It's insulation from the noise of the world so you can hear what really matters. It's where he gives the next instruction, the next breath, the next door. And when he moves in shadows, he's not moving aimlessly. Every step is ordered, every silence is loaded, every delay is strategic. He is setting things in motion that you aren't meant to witness yet. That's not distance, that's divine design. The same way you don't watch a seed germinate inside the soil, you don't always get to watch your destiny form. You just have to know it is. Think about how a sculptor works. The early strikes of the chisel don't reveal the masterpiece. In fact, it looks like destruction at first. Pieces flying off, dust in the air. But to the one who understands the process, it's all part of the unveiling. That's what God is doing. Not just building something for you, but building something in you. Carving away the unnecessary, strengthening what remains. And when He's ready for you to see it, the sunrise will come. No one can stop it. No one can delay it. No enemy, no mistake, no storm. When it's time, it's time. Light has never lost a battle to darkness, not once. Until then, stay close to the quiet. Learn its rhythm. Let it teach you how to breathe again. Let it show you how to wait without panic, how to hope without proof, how to believe without needing to see the whole picture. That's maturity. That faith, not loud, not dramatic, but deep, steady, rooted. Because anyone can trust in the daylight, but the ones who carry true peace, they trust in the shadows. And when it feels like you're surrounded by storms, remind yourself, He isn't startled. He isn't off course. He's already where you're trying to go. And He's calling you forward, not with a shout, but with a still voice. Not with a spotlight, but with steps lit just enough for today. That's how He leads. That's how He protects. That's how He wins battles you'll never even know about. The world may be loud, fear may scream, distractions may try to pull you out of alignment, but wisdom whispers. And He is wisdom. He doesn't need volume to prove His power. He just moves, on time, with precision, in love. So next time it feels quiet, don't ask where is God. Ask what is He preparing. Because if the silence is lingering, it's because the next move is weighty. The deeper the quiet, the stronger the unfolding. This isn't pause, it's positioning. The sunrise is already on its way. You just can't see it yet. But it's coming, and when it comes, it won't just light up your life. It'll make sense of the silence. So don't rush the moment. Don't curse the shadows. Just breathe. Just trust. Because the storm may stir, but the silence is wise. And the God you serve is already moving right before the sunrise. There are moments when time feels like the enemy, when it stretches out like a desert, endless and dry, when the clock feels louder than your heartbeat, when every unanswered prayer turns into a whisper of doubt. It's human to wonder why things take so long, why promises feel delayed, why silence lingers longer than expected. But in that wondering, there is a truth far deeper than frustration, far more tender than impatience dares to admit. He's not making you wait just to test your endurance. He's been waiting too. Longer than you think, longer than you can imagine. You were never the only one counting the days. From the beginning, before your voice formed words, before your mind could comprehend delay, before your body even touched the earth, He was watching, He was preparing, He was arranging the intricate, delicate movement of life so that grace would meet you at the exact moment it needed to. Not early, not late, but perfectly aligned. This isn't the kind of waiting that humans do. This isn't passive, it's active, it's layered. It's patient beyond measure, the kind of patience that only someone eternal could carry. He isn't standing still while you cry out. He's weaving time around you, making sure that when your feet step forward, the ground is already firm. That when the door opens, it won't close too soon. That when you receive what you've asked for, you'll have the character to hold it. He doesn't just give you what you want. He gives it in the way that won't break you. And to do that, he waits. He works within the boundaries of time while holding all of eternity in his hands. That's no small thing, because time is a creature to him, not a master. He isn't subject to it. He bends it, stretches it, slows it, quickens it, all in the name of grace. Grace isn't random. It's not luck or coincidence. Grace is surgical, intentional. It's heaven's timing disguised as delay. Grace doesn't just arrive. It lands exactly when it's supposed to, often disguised in packages we didn't expect, through people we didn't choose, in places we didn't plan to be. You may think your life has gone off track, that something missed the mark, that you lost too much time. But he sees beyond the moment. He sees the ripples, the effect of one breath years down the road. And so, he waits, not to deny you, but to position you. Because if you step into something too soon, it will crush you. If grace meets you before the time is right, you might reject it, misuse it, or worse, miss it entirely. That's not love, that's exposure. And God never exposes what he intends to protect. He has waited longer than you know to align time with grace. Not just for your good, but for the good of others connected to you. You are not an island. Your breakthrough is not isolated. It affects generations, decisions, legacies. What you receive at the right time becomes someone else's answer down the line. That's the beauty and the burden of timing. It's not just about you. So when you sit in the quiet, looking at an unanswered prayer or an unfinished dream, you're not just looking at delay, you're looking at orchestration. The unseen choreography of divinity moving through human limitations. And that kind of movement takes time, because real things, lasting things, can't be rushed. There are seeds you've planted that will not bloom until decades from now. Prayers you've whispered that won't be answered in your voice, but in the voice of your children or your children's children. You may not see the full picture, but that doesn't mean he's not painting it. Some strokes are so wide they stretch beyond your lifetime. That's why trust is so essential, because you're not just trusting for yourself, you're trusting on behalf of generations. And while you wrestle with the waiting, remember this: he's waited longer than you have. He's watched every moment. He's felt every ache. He's seen the tears you never cried, the ones you pushed down and tried to forget. He's known your capacity long before you reached your limits. And yet he waited. Not because he didn't care, but because he cares too much to rush what was meant to change you. Grace isn't just a gift, it's a mirror. When it arrives, it reveals whether you're ready to carry it. That's why he waits. Not just for circumstances to align, but for your soul to align, for your trust to mature, for your vision to stretch beyond your comfort, for your character to root deeper than your desire. He's not trying to make it harder for you. He's making sure it lasts for you. Think about how many times you wanted something, only to look back later and say, "Thank God I didn't get that then." That hindsight, that relief, that's grace in retroactive motion. And if grace could wait for you to grow into it, surely you can wait for it to meet you in its fullness. That doesn't mean it's easy. Waiting never is, especially when the world around you seems to be moving faster. When others get what you've prayed for, when silence feels like abandonment. But it isn't. Silence is sometimes the space grace needs to settle, to finish its work in places you can't see. You're not being ignored. You're being held, and in the holding, He's watching everything. Not just your readiness, but the readiness of what you're walking into. Sometimes it's not you that needs to change. It's the atmosphere you're meant to enter, the people you're supposed to meet, the opportunities that haven't quite ripened yet. Timing is not just about personal readiness. It's about cosmic readiness. There's a rhythm to heaven's movements, and grace always arrives on beat. Not rushed, not delayed, but in tune with purpose. So if it feels like you've been waiting forever, just know He's been waiting longer, because He saw this moment before you could spell your name, before your parents met, before your breath took its first rhythm. He saw you, fully formed, fully known, fully loved, and He said, "Not yet." Not to punish you, but to perfect what's coming. He doesn't play with time. He honors it, and He uses it like a master craftsman. Every minute is a brushstroke, every hour a chisel, every delay a layer of foundation you'll one day stand on. You may not know what's taking so long, but He does, and one day you will too. Because when it happens, when grace finally steps into your now, you'll realize it couldn't have come a second sooner. And you'll understand that what you thought was a denial was actually a delay designed to protect you, to prepare you, to position you, not just for a blessing, but for transformation. So breathe deep. The wait is not wasted. He's been waiting longer than you, not because He's distant, but because He's invested. Not because He's slow, but because He's precise. Not because He's unsure, but because He's aligning time with grace. And grace, it always shows up exactly when it should. And when it does, you'll understand every not yet was really a divine I love you. There is a moment in every life where stillness seems louder than motion, where the hush before change feels so prolonged you start to wonder if movement will ever return. You wait by the riverbank, watching for even the smallest ripple, praying that the still water will break, that something, anything, will finally begin. But the sky stays quiet, the wind holds its breath, and you wonder if the current has forgotten your name. But it hasn't. It's not that it won't begin, it's that the moment for movement hasn't arrived yet. Because when it does, when the dam finally breaks, when the sky opens, when heaven exhales, there will be no more silence, no more holding patterns, no more doubt. The river will rush like it has been waiting centuries to carry you. It will flood the banks. It will carry you faster than your legs could have ever walked. And nothing, not fear, not doubt, not resistance, will stop it. That's how divine timing works. It may look like nothing is happening. It may look like everything is stuck. But beneath the surface, the pressure is building. The alignment is nearing. The water is gathering speed, pressing against invisible barriers, preparing to burst through. And when it begins, it won't be subtle. It will be a roar, a flash, a sudden shift in atmosphere. One phone call, one open door, one yes. One moment that flips the whole script. What felt like delay will suddenly feel like acceleration. What seemed impossible will become inevitable. That's how the river moves, sudden, strong, and unstoppable. Because heaven doesn't start something without finishing it, and it doesn't release something without carrying it to completion. You were never waiting for random winds. You were being preserved for a storm of blessing, a flood of movement that can't be reversed. When the signal is given, when the gate opens, it won't trickle in slowly. It will rush in, fierce and full. And you will know this was never a matter of possibility, but of timing. And timing, when it's divine, does not ask permission. Always, it doesn't consult your comfort zone. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It simply begins. Because when heaven initiates, earth responds. The same voice that told the sea to stop now tells your river to go. And when that happens, there is no force strong enough to hold it back. Not even you. You may try to resist out of fear or unworthiness or doubt, but grace has momentum. It has a mission. And you are not just a recipient of that flow. You are part of it, carried by it, held in it. That's why all this time it has felt like nothing, because the river is quiet before it moves. The banks are still before they overflow. The wind stills before it shifts direction. But just like that, change. And when it begins, you won't be able to return to the silence. There will be no going back to waiting, no undoing what has been released. This is not a cycle, this is a crossing. A one-way move into something that will redefine everything behind you. Because the river doesn't turn around. Once it flows, it carves new paths, it reshapes landscapes. It leaves evidence that something powerful passed through here. And that's what your life will look like. Not a gentle stream, but a wild river that rewrote the land, that redefined the map, that moved with such force no one could doubt it was guided by a higher hand. That's the kind of beginning you're being prepared for. Not the kind that asks for permission, but the kind that demands response. And when it begins, you'll feel it in your bones. You'll wake up with a knowing, a clarity, a shift in weight. Suddenly, where there was resistance, there will be release. Where there was silence, sound. Where there was waiting, movement. It may start with small signs, a strange peace in the middle of what used to shake you, a conversation that wasn't supposed to happen, an opportunity that finds you when you've stopped searching, and then, all at once, flow. But the flow is not the beginning. The river has always been there, underneath, behind the scenes, being directed, being contained, being timed. All this time, heaven has been damming up what would have drowned you too soon. You thought the stillness was lack, but it was love. Because if the river came when you were too fragile, it would have swept you under. If the doors opened before your foundation was ready, they would have collapsed on top of you. He doesn't release what he's not prepared to sustain. And now you're ready, or close enough that heaven says, let it begin. And when it does, don't try to hold back. Don't grab the bank and beg for the waiting again. Don't ask for the quiet you once hated. This isn't about comfort. It's about calling. And the river is calling you forward. Into new places. Into unknown waters. Into the kind of life that requires faith not just to believe, but to move. And there, in the movement, you'll see what the waiting was really for. You'll understand that delay wasn't punishment. it was precision. That every closed door wasn't rejection, it was redirection. That every silent night was heaven holding its breath for this very moment. When the river flows, you'll forget what it felt like to doubt. Because movement has a sound, and it silences fear. It drowns insecurity. It washes away every lie that said it's too late, or you missed it, or this is all there is. No, this is just the beginning, and not the kind of beginning that fades, the kind that escalates, that builds, that gains force with every step. You won't have to fight to keep it going. It will carry you, like a current made of promises, fueled by purpose, aimed straight at destiny. This is not something you earned. It's something you're being given. And when it comes, your only job is to stay in the river. Let it take you. Let it transform you. Let it shape your life into something unrecognizable from what came before. Don't look back at the bag. Don't mourn what had to be left behind. Don't wish for what you've outgrown. Because once the river begins, it will not ask you to return. It will not make space for yesterday's fears. It will not pause so you can question it. It will keep moving. And in its movement, it will make you new. This is what happens when divine timing collides with human readiness. Not a trickle, a flood. Not a suggestion, a command. Not a maybe, a now. And no one, not doubt, not people, not even your past can stop it. Because what is authored by heaven cannot be edited by man. And what is loosed by heaven cannot be locked by fear. So get ready, because when it begins, it will not stop. And the river will not turn around.